So we found this insight that people are cursing over wind farms. We also saw that energy sources per se are becoming part of the even more polarized narrative when it comes to both politically and environmentally and so forth. It's really becoming part of that. And so the question we asked ourselves, could this insight be the source for a creative idea that could connect emotionally to people? Happy to be here. Really great to be part of this network. I've actually joined it the other day. So nice to follow and share ideas and thoughts with you later on. I'm going to try to share my deck and continue from there. All right. I want to give you a little bit of short background to the brand Vattenfall that I'm working for before going into the actual campaigning, and also give you a little bit of background to the actual campaign that the focal point today is about. So I want to start with talking a little bit about our brand message, working for fossil freedom, which is a direct link to our purpose, where that says that we're here to enable the fossil-free solutions to drive society forward. This purpose was defined for over 10 years ago in the company, and since then it has been defining everything that we do. So it defines the strategy, the divestments, and the investments that we do, both short-term and long-term. And since then, it has also been, our, core brand message that we've been sending and then talking about and building our comms on very consistently over time. A little bit more on Vattenfall as a company. I'm not going to go into any kind of details, but maybe just to put in perspective, because Vattenfall is a known brand in Europe, especially the Northern Europe, but outside Europe, I'm not sure how much people know about Vattenfall. Maybe the last campaign helped a little bit with a few, but we operate mainly in the Northern Europe, 10 different markets. We have consumer customers in 4 of these markets, which is Sweden, Finland, Germany, and the Netherlands. We have operations mostly when it comes to production in all markets. We do operate throughout the whole value chain. It's everything from production, electricity distribution, sales, and also district heating. We're about 20,000 employees. We have about nearly 8 million customers all in all. As a company. So I'm not going to spend more time in background, but it gives you a little bit of background to who we are and why we do, and also why we can do the things that we actually do. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how to navigate a brand like Vattenfall in a volatile world, especially if you're an energy company that is such an integral part of society and often the center of the political debate, because the world that we shape is constantly changing, and it's creating new global narratives and sentiments that affects us all. And different crises, they come and they go, and what was once top of mind is a few years later is put to the back burner. So how do you navigate as a brand when everything around you and the sentiment and narrative constantly is changing? There's one crisis, though, that doesn't go away, which is the climate crisis. And the challenge that we face, especially as energy brands, but for brands in general, is that how do you stay true to your core message when the global narrative is suddenly changing to something totally different? That's something that's really hard to navigate as a brand, and maybe especially as an energy brand where we're such an integral part of society. But as the climate crisis is persistent, so are we as a company. Because the fact that we have the competence and we have the scale to actually make a difference, it also comes with a responsibility to lead that transition. And during the years of battling different kinds of crises, we have stayed true to that purpose and that goal that we set out for over 10 years ago. And while we are still communicating consistently around fossil freedom as the core message in our brand building campaigns, our leaders have been equally persistent in taking the responsibility to lead the change towards more fossil-free society. And it's just as a few examples from being part of establishing the First Movers Coalition, to leading the way to show how to decarbonize really heavy emitting industry sectors like the steel industry, for instance. And earlier last year also where they took a leading role in the Clean Energy and Industry Initiative together with other EU leaders and other European corporates. So it's not only about being persistent and consistent in our brand comms, but it's also delivering upon that purpose as a company as a whole and showing the world that we take that leadership position. But if you look at it from purely brand strategy perspective, this consistency is really, it's a solid business case. As this research from System 1 shows, and I guess you're familiar with it, that yes, long-term concepts always have, they always achieve like incremental profit or incremental growth, but brands that manage to connect emotionally and fluently over time with the audience show an even greater incremental growth and profits from that. Which is also what Vattenfall has done exactly that for the last, or tried to do that at least for the last 7 to 8 years. In really staying true to our core message and try to engage people emotionally over time. Which leads then to the latest campaign that I'm going to talk more about. I could also have talked about how we work with the different concepts over time, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about the international campaign that we did with Samuel L. Jackson, and also to put that in some kind of perspective. The purpose of that campaign was to grow the brand with people who don't have Vattenfall top of mind today. And that is something that we are struggling with in doing with our more traditional broad media campaigns. They are really, really successful in making sure that people already know about us, that we're growing equity and consideration with that audience, but we have a hard time reaching and growing the brand outside that audience. So this is the sole purpose of getting attention from that audience and try to grow the brand into that. So how do we connect with an audience like that don't have us top of mind? So we found this insight that people are cursing over wind farms. We also saw that energy sources per se are becoming part of the even more polarized narrative when it comes to both politically and environmentally and so forth. It's really becoming part of that. And so the question we asked ourselves, could this insight be the source for a creative idea that could connect emotionally to people? Well, we think it could, because we found someone who in a trustworthy way speak to those who really feels this way. But of course, if you want to do a campaign with Samuel and shoot that kind of rocket into the sky, then the platform from where we shoot up that rocket needs to be really big and solid. So the actual idea behind the campaign is built on a project that we called Wind at Sea, which is a collaboration between Danish universities and companies where we explore the potential of multi-use platforms such as offshore wind farms. And through this pilot project, we aim to accelerate the implementation of co-uses of energy infrastructure, and by actively supporting and engaging in this pilot project, we support the testing and knowledge building that is needed to actually turn this into these activities to like full scaling and industrial practices in the future. So the Wind at Sea has been cultivating seaweed at two of Vattenfall's wind farms, one in the Baltic Sea and one in the North Sea. And that seaweed, we turn that into a snack, a product, as a concrete example or evidence of that this kind of infrastructure and this multi-use of infrastructure is actually possible and tangible. So this is, with this background, you might have seen the TVC and the commercial before, but I thought it might be nice to just watch it one more time as a background.
Motherfucking wind farms. Loud, ugly, harmful to nature. Who said that? These giants are standing tall against fossil fuel, rising up out of the ocean like a middle finger the CO2. Deep beneath the waves, they can become artificial reefs, creating habitats for sea life to grow. These are Wind Farmed Seaweed Snacks, made with seaweed grown at a Vattenfall wind farm. This is gourmet shit. So, what's it gonna be? Motherfucking wind farm or motherfucking reefs?
And I just wanted to show you two more assets that I just like them.
You see those motherfuckers spinners? They grow snacks out there. Wind farm. Motherfucking seaweed frying, Jackson feeding, hate flipping, bottom falling wind farm.
All right, so then the question is, did it work? I'm not going to go through all the results, but for us it has been a huge success. We reached far beyond the audiences that already know us, and in so many different ways as well. We see also that we have been invited to arenas, events, areas where we usually are not invited to. We are being present in media, communities, and places where we usually are not present at all. So it has been a great success in that sense, and these are just a few examples. And it had impact. It's like, who would have thought that anyone would actually not only tattoo the campaign on his leg, which is a bit extreme, of course, but yeah, it's kind of an ultimate test that we reached beyond and reached deeper into some people anyhow.
If you thought that Samuel Jackson couldn't get any cooler and prove that he's one of the best people on this planet, then you need to watch his advert. He excelled himself with that wallet. He just became a legend amongst the galaxy with that lightsaber. And now this, Mr. Trump is not gonna like this.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna talk through this, but yeah, of course, I want to end up with, maybe this is usually something that you start off with, but maybe end up with what the objectives and to do this. And of course, for us, it was building fame for the brand, make more people talk about Vattenfall when we're not in the room as such. We need to build more top of mind and unaided awareness, and this has really helped us do that. To support the brand growth. We need to build incremental reach. We can only go so far and reach so far with more traditional brand building campaigns. And of course, we need to continue to build stronger brand associations to this. So that was the background and the objectives for doing this. I think I'm gonna stop there, and I'm gonna stop sharing because I can't see while I'm presenting, so I'm gonna go back in here. Yeah. Okay.
Excellent. Well done, Paul. I would love to open up to any questions or thoughts from the people on this call. Anyone like to go first? Emily, go ahead.
Bear with me, I'm changing to a different desktop. You can hear and see me. First of all, amazing ad. Our group chat went crazy when it came out. Everybody loved it. I was wondering how you landed on the message. I think what works so well is that it comes across as really authentic. So I'm wondering if the message was something that you guys came up with, or if you worked with Samuel L. Jackson and his team to land on the message, or just how that process came about, because it feels very much like him and not Wind Company. Yeah, I'm just curious how you landed there.
Now, together with the creative agency, of course, we had an idea of what the message should be, and it's not the reason why also we chose Samuel is, of course, that he has a colorful language and he's known for that. If you know anything about him, there's big communities just on his language, and he's also very engaged in like topics where climate is one of them. So there was this connection to that. But the idea from the start when we found out that people are cursing over wind farms, then the whole idea was built on him talking, having that monologue. And of course, you recognize some of the phrases in the script from movies and things like that. So I think that's why it felt. I think that's why you feel that it felt so genuine and authentic, because if you work with someone like him, who else could we put there to swear in a commercial with trust? I mean, and it's not the first kind of frame activation that we do. Back in 23, we did one with Cara Delevingne as well. I don't know if you've seen it or noticed it, but it's also when you work with people like that, you need to build the idea on the actual person to make it feel real, and it has to be connected to that person in more than one way, I think. So we pitched the idea to Samuel, and the script was more or less exactly what you heard now. And I think, I don't know, he answered really, really quick. He immediately came back and said that he liked it and that he wants to do it. And I think he also felt what you experienced, and that it feels that it was right for him. It fitted him.
Thank you.
But it was not much discussions and developments about the idea or the script or messaging with him directly, no. So I would say kudos to the creative agency.
Yes. Good reminder to have key partners.
But there's lots to say about working with a person like that, of course. It's super professional, very, very long negotiations.
I can imagine.
Brendan?
First, thanks so much for, presenting Ball. This is amazing. We all saw it in real time, and I think we all felt kind of seen and advocated for, even if you weren't working in wind. When I saw it, the first question I had for myself was, what were the conversations internally? How hard is it? How hard was this to sell both up the chain and then horizontally in terms of both the tone and spokesperson and all of these pieces? Was this already congruent with what the organization, what Vattenfall was already feeling, or did it take a little bit of pushing and cajoling?
That's a very good question, and I think it's a very important question, because we would not have been able to do this 5 years ago. And the reason why is that we've been working very long-term with a very clear method of measuring and following and reporting to our leadership team on how to build and how to build equity in the brand and show them the effects of doing that. And if you have built that kind of relationship over time, being there, talking about how branding work and what you need to do. And then if you can show the effects in the figures and numbers to your leadership team, they start building trust to you and they trust you. So actually it wasn't a hard sell. I presented it to our CEO and she just started laughing and liked it. But without the 3 or 4 years, or even longer than that, working long-term with a very clear methodology on how to build equity in the brand, that would have been impossible. Because then the discussion would have been about whether he should swear or not, which is not the question here. The question was a little different. Will this do the job that we're looking for? How do we reach more people? How do we engage people that are not engaged in us? And long time ago, we already convinced that we need to do stuff that everyone doesn't like, because that's what you need to do if you're an energy company and if you're not Nike. How do you get people to care? Because mainly people don't care about energy companies at all. So we need to do stuff that we know that everyone will not like, because that is when people will start talking about it. But that is something that we convinced people of a long time ago. But then showing the effects of long-term brand building and being consistent over time, that is what led up to us being able to do this. Having said that, it was an easy sell to our leadership team, but it's a big company and a lot of people, most of them are engineers. And to a lot of those people, this was not to say a shock, but it's like, okay, can we really do this as an energy company? So that was a different discussion, of course, and a different thing to manage. So everyone internally does not like it. I can tell you that.
That's great feedback. Thank you, Paul. Eben, did you have a question still? Want to make sure I didn't lose your hand raised.
Yeah, I think Brendan said it so well. I was curious about that. How did you push it across in the first place? But then I'm also curious if it changed the way that you look at the future. Has this adjusted the brand alignment in any way? Has it opened up more opportunities in the future? Just curious how you think about that.
There's a lot of other stuff that affects our future, but I think what it has done for us now, it has opened doors that was not open before for us as a company, as an influencer, and as a brand. Also, I think if we would not have done the fame activation with Cara Delevingne, which is called we did the face mist with her idea, and it's built on the process of producing fossil-free steel. The waste is not CO2, but it's actually just water. So we used that and made a similar idea with Cara Delevingne and a face mist, and we played around with the beauty industry, and that also resonated very well in the global arena. I think using that as a case opened up for us to prove to someone like Samuel that we can do this really, really well. So it has been a process over the time. I think this will open up doors for us in many different ways in the future. I think we will continue and we have to do fame campaign. When I say fame, doesn't mean working with famous people. It means building fame for the Vattenfall brand, which means making people talk about Vattenfall. You don't have to work with famous people to do that. There are other ways of doing that. So I think we're gonna continue. We have to make people talk about Vattenfall because that is how we grow as a brand. So we will continue to do that in many different ways going forward. Maybe not in the same way that we've done with Samuel, but in other ways. When it comes to brand alignment, we are on a steady pace. We're not going to change direction. The purpose is the same, and everything that comes out of us as a brand team will continue to build that position and that purpose going forward.
Thanks. That's really helpful. The distinction is also very helpful that you made between fame from the outside of fame within. Yeah,
absolutely. There's many different ways. There's many different ways of doing that. It's easier to do with a famous person like Samuel because then you can piggyback on the fame that he has. And of course, what we really wanted was the reaction of almost like what the fuck reaction. Or how can an energy company in the Northern Europe collaborating with Samuel, what is that about? That is the effect that we also wanted. It seems very unreasonable, but it's unreasonable for reasonable reasons. So yeah, there are multiple ways of doing that. I've seen a lot of other brands doing really nice, cool stuff when it comes to creating that kind of reaction without working with the famous person. But for us, it has worked really, really well to work with other influencers and other famous people.
Melissa, I want to make sure I got to your question next.
Sure. Thank you so much, Paul. When this came out, we were all talking about it in our office and with our colleagues, and just want to applaud you for doing something so risky and bold. And you're right, and that's what gets attention. So my question was just, how did you get the ad through? I mean, I imagine that first word wasn't able to be published on all channels. So it clearly got out, but were there any roadblocks there because of that?
Yeah, I think also regulations changed during the development of this campaign. Suddenly we had to bleep a lot of the words in some channels, and we had uncensored versions in some channels. I don't know exactly which ones, but the thing is that he's so famous for those wordings. So it didn't really matter if we were bleeping or not, but people still understood what he was saying. But we worked a lot with the censored and uncensored versions. And I can also tell you, it created reactions, and that is what we were aiming for. By far, all of them were not positive. That is also something you need to understand when you do something like this, but you need to be prepared. And that is also something that you have to prepare your management it's about not being super nervous when you see that happens in your feed, right? That's how you just make sure to know how to manage that and be prepared for it. So there's a massive work going into preparing that, not only within the brand team, but also with the media relations team and maybe even the PRA team, because politicians will also have an opinion on not only wind farm as such or wind energy, but actually also the fact that we're swearing. Is that something we should do? We're 100% state-owned, company, energy company. Can we swear in commercials? Those are fair questions to ask. Not easy.
We're pushing boundaries.
To match, but it's about preparation.
I'll just add for the parents on the call, there is a lovely children's book that is maybe not appropriate for children, but gives parents a chuckle, that is narrated by Samuel Jackson, called Go the F to Sleep.
Yeah, it's actually really, really good.
It is.
Yeah, we looked a lot at it actually when we were developing the idea. It's great fun.
Great. Thank you for the question, Melissa. Fernanda, we have you next. How are you, by the way? Thank you for calling in.
No, thank you for hosting this. It's great. And thanks, Paul, for sharing all these insights. I've been trying to post the question here on the chat, but it says the message isn't delivered. Still on this internal stakeholder piece, obviously it is a strong message. I can understand that not everybody at Vattenfall was pro, but how did you show the return of marketing investment? Because I imagine this was a big budget investment, both the collaboration with Samuel, but also the overall promotion. I know you went viral, so you probably got a big bang for your buck, but in general, how did you show the return of investment? Because it's hard for this type of brand awareness campaign, especially with the more skeptical stakeholders that want to see clear metrics, and with brand awareness, it can be hard.
Also a very good question. And if you look at it, it's the most efficient investment that we ever done, I guess, in reach and media. First of all, I should say that we did not pay Samuel what he usually charged for commercial collaboration in the US. Far from it. I think he did this one because he thought it was funny and he liked it. He wanted to do this. And we gave him a budget up front. We knew that it was way lower than what he usually charges, right? So for us, it was a big investment, but it's actually the investment in paying him is equal to a really big national campaign launch, let's say for 6 to 8 weeks in Sweden only. With the same investment, more or less, we have 500 million plus reach and engagement to come with that. Not only in our core markets, but also beyond that. Beyond the commercial value in that sense, it also opened up doors for our leadership teams and to influence in ways that we've never done before. That is the way you need to put the perspective on the resources that you're using and how you use. Try to keep it purely as mathematical as possible when you look at the reach in relation to investment. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate that Samuel joined for the cause and less for the money, I guess. He just resonated.
Yeah. We still paid him a big chunk of money, but not close to what he charges for. And that was also a thing. There were boundaries. We cannot actively approach the US market at all, for instance. We knew, and he knew, of course, that it would go viral in that market, but we did not do any kind of active PR or any kind of media activation at all in that market. That was part of the deal.
So you focused the activation really on Vattenfall's key markets in Europe, in terms of the kind of
and beyond our key market.
Okay.
Yeah,
got it.
Beyond a little bit beyond our and I think we saw PR effects in 22 different countries, and we were operating in 10 markets. It was actually global, all over the world.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Great. Brendan, you got another question?
You had mentioned early on that you'd been tracking a lot of these metrics for multiple years prior to having the conversation with the CEO. What are, to the extent that you can share them, what are some of the metrics that you were tracking, and how do you track them so that you can demonstrate the opportunity that this created?
Yeah. There's very little rocket science. We use a very traditional like funnel model, like awareness, consideration, preference, and conversion. What we report ultimately to our leadership team is the key KPI that we report is consideration as the key KPI for how attractive is our brand. And when we say how attractive our brand is, it's not only how attractive is it to, in terms of I consider buying an electricity contract. It is now because if we're going to achieve the goal that we are set up to do, we need the best talent ever and be very attractive brand to work at. So it's also how many people are actually considering, right people considering working at Vattenfall. We also need partnering with other industries, like the steel project that we've been running. It's with the mining industry and with the steel industry in itself. So now we need to be an attractive partner to attractive brand for other business partners and industry partners as well. So, and also we need to be attractive for different kind of influential people as well. So it's really wide, but we measure that in consideration. And on top of that, we measure reputation, and also then we look at brand finance. How much equity in dollars and cents is embedded in the brand. Those are the three main KPIs that we report. But then of course we work and follow as a brand team. We work and follow the funnel, and we do we're really data driven when it comes to everything that we do. So we make informed decisions about everything, and even a creative idea like this with Sam is informed by a lot of data. What works and what does not work.
Amazing. Thanks.
Dan, looks like you got a question.
Yeah, thanks. Really appreciating this. And I'm wondering about how you went about getting the video into the public domain. Like, I imagine there was some amount of direct spend to kind of like grease the skids, and then it kind of takes off and goes viral. But that's like a magic sauce that I don't have personal experience with. Like, how do you just put it on YouTube and place some ads, and pretty soon people realize this is a cool thing and share it? Did you have a discrete budget for getting it in front of people, and then you cross your fingers and think this will go viral? What's the process?
As a brand today, if you want to be present, you have to invest quite a lot in the media spend to do this. It's quite impossible to get anything to fly without a media spend today. So yes, it was a significant investment in media as well, on top of the investment we did with Samuel. But of course, as Samuel shared the video on his channels, that automatically, that's part of the deal we have with him, of course, and some other stuff that he did. The reach of that is amazing, of course. That creates a lot of the kind of reactions with a totally new audience and a wider audience. But yes, we invest lots in media, to support the creative assets in media in all channels. In our core markets, we did TVC, we ran this on TV, and in all, it's a 360 campaign in that sense. Also on top of the fact that trying to get that kind of incremental reach, just because the idea in itself and working with Sam. And you can also see how those things are supporting each other. You see that in the metrics when we follow up the actual performance of the campaign. You see how that is supporting each other.
Thank you.
Fernanda, I think you had another question.
Yeah, Paul, on your description of the objectives, you said that you really wanted to reach people that wouldn't normally be engaged with Vattenfall, or I guess with wind. So was it different, the target audiences that you were focused for this activation? And if you can give a brief description of who you were trying to reach with your activation?
Yeah. First of all, we did not aim specifically for people that are interested in wind energy as such. We could have used any proof point within our operations to find an idea that would make people talk about Vattenfall. And usually I write the worst target audience briefs, because as the company and brand that we are, we want to reach as many people as possible, as much as possible, and as many times as possible. So our task is to grow the brand with people that don't know us today. What we do then is look at our core markets, and we are constantly tracking how our brand is resonating with different target audiences in all our key markets. There we can see how many people in the market in certain age brackets, for instance, know about us but don't have an opinion or don't care or do not engage when we communicate. We could do before and after measurement. Looking into this, we could clearly see that after 2 months we managed to engage people in our markets that usually don't engage at all when we communicate, that we increase the amount of people and the engagement rate within these specific target audiences. That's what we can see very concretely within our core markets. But then there's another layer. For instance, we were present in Elle magazine, which is a fashion magazine. Why should a fashion magazine talk about an energy company? So that is another layer of things, and what is the potential reach in that? But our job is to reach as many people as possible, and regardless of age and interest, when it comes to brand building. If you look further down into the funnel, when the marketing and sales teams, where their communication, we clearly look at different category entry. Then we have a very aimed our communication towards a very specific part of the different of the markets. Whether it's if it's about electricity contract, it's one set of the segment. If it's looking at PVs and charging solutions for EVs and stuff like that, yes, then there's a different, very clearly defined segment within our markets that we aim to reach when it comes from that. Start building a little bit more rational communication towards very specific target audience.
Thanks for the question. Appreciate it, Fernanda. Looks like we have about 10 minutes here. Anyone else have any questions? Again, those coming in a bit late or popping in and out, I'll make sure to get this in the community video that you can watch afterward and give questions. Yvonne, go ahead.
Yes. Hi, Paul. Thank you so much for sharing. Really wonderful. Just wondering, you just mentioned that you guys do develop not follow-up campaigns, but there are more rational plans regarding specific target groups following this videos or this campaign. Could you please share more details regarding that? What kind of campaigns, or how's the planning for that part to continue the impact of this video, of this ads specifically?
Okay, a good question. So maybe then also explain a little bit how we work. This campaign is more of a one-off that we do under a specific time period to build that kind of incremental reach, to get more people to actually notice Vattenfall as a brand. At the same time, we're running more traditional brand building campaign towards also a very broad audience. So they are kind of complementing each other. So there's no real connection between the more tactically and rational campaigns connected to this brand activation with Samuel. However, the more tactical campaigns are really closely connected to the more traditional brand building campaigns that we're running almost all the time in all our core markets. So you can see this campaign as something that is a little bit of a different beast, but with a very specific purpose. While our traditional brand building campaigns is really hammering in our core message of fossil freedom, making sure that story is being able to connect in a more tactically driven campaigns down into the funnel.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much.
Great. Evan, you've got another one. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Paul, yeah, I'm curious because what you've done with this is you've basically given everyone in the space a little piece of inspiration that can change what we think is possible and can maybe activate some ideas, which is awesome. So thank you for that. And I'm just wondering if you had any ideas that inspired you or your teams or your agency before this that you would say would also be these landmark pieces within.
Yeah, I think one campaign that has impacted me or made me think a lot was the Nike with Kaepernick campaign. I think that one is an inspirational source for me, looking at from a very brand funnel piece, and how also how you can continue to build and also diverse the meaning of just do it. not only to become more of have relevance in society in a different way than just sports and health and fitness. I think that was a really interesting move for me. And then there's another one. I don't know if you remember this. This goes way back 20 years. The first time you wonder, well, how can this be? I don't know if you remember or if you've seen. It's Volvo Trucks, the epic split with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Volvo Trucks, and if you haven't seen it, just Google it. It's amazing. The thing about that one is that it's so well thought through, but still, when you see it the first time, it's like, are you serious? Also, it's interesting because it's not a consumer brand. It's like a truck brand. Do that. So that was also interesting. And I think most of Vattenfall business is actually B2B. But we chose to communicate as a consumer brand. And that is also something that opens opportunities and doors for us that is really, really fruitful. And you can really see the opportunities and effects of that.
Great question, Evan. Thank you. I'm going to take one here. I think it's going to tie into Melissa said in the chat as well. So a lot of marketers face this classic thing of how do we go from brand awareness to measurable increase in revenue and sales? It sounds like this is a layer on top of the we would call stock campaigns that refer to what Melissa's saying here. How did you get the first buy-in? You're 5 years in, you're super successful. You got Samuel Jackson on the roster. What was the process from going from 0 to 1? Because a lot of us are at that stage. We're at 0 and going to 1 as B2B marketers in clean energy.
There's no magic to it at all. We build our strategies and the way of working on, scientifically proven theories. And then we start measuring, doing, follow-up. Measuring, doing, follow-up. See how the KPIs are developing. That's how you build trust. That's how you build your business case. That's how you build a case for getting more media funds, for instance, or more resources to invest in broad media as such. That's how you do it. But it's a long-term work, and it's a methodology with clear methodologies. And by all means, take the help of the research and the scientific based research out there, based a lot on the long and the short theories from Peter Fields and System 1, and we'll listen a lot to what Mark Ritson says about working from a brand management perspective through the funnel and stuff like that. So find your method, find your way of building and constructing your strategy, and do it consistently over time. That's how you build this over time. And if you can show the effects of it now from a business perspective, then also it's way easier to sell, like an idea where we have Samuel Jackson swearing about wind farms. So there's no magic wand on how to present to get an idea like this approved. Is long-term methodological and where methodological work. We would not have been able to run this presentation 5 years now. We would just not been able to sell it internally.
Thank you so much. We're getting a lot of accolades virtually here. So thank you again, Paul, and we hope to see you in the community. I hope you have a good rest of your week.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.